Derek Harley here along with Romaine Patterson. Katie K. Cates, our producer. Donnie, our associate producer, is with us. And Stanley Blum, who is back with us. And you can check him out on the web, blumstanley.com, B-L-U-M, Stanley.com. And he is an artist, poet, and jazz enthusiast.
And last time he was here, he was very popular amongst our listeners, Derek.
That is true.
Very, very popular. We got a lot of calls and emails after his appearance here saying, have him back on the show.
And I noticed that one of our listeners actually put a link to the audio of his interview onto Facebook.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes. And I put a link to that on our website, derekandromaine.com. So there you go. So if you want to relive the magic of last time, it's there on our website, derekandromaine.com. And Stanley Blum is in our studio right now. Stanley, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I never had such a very lovely greeting, and you make me feel great.
Well, we had a wonderful time with you last time, and we're happy to welcome you back.
Well, I'm glad to be back. Actually, I'm glad to be anywhere.
Well, we were talking about this before you came in the studio. Last time you came in, you were 94. Are you still 94?
I graduated. I'm 95.
Aha!
And I don't pay any attention to the numbers anymore because I don't have time for it, and I don't want to make time for it. As a matter of fact, I've sort of discarded the calendar.
But you didn't have a birthday party or anything?
No.
Not even a lovely dinner out? Nothing?
I don't recall doing anything special, but I do remember my wife inviting the residents of our building to come up to our apartment at 79th and 3rd. And she sent out a notice to the tenants, everyone, come celebrate Stanley's 95th birthday. So there was a community day, and it was a lovely celebration, including sweets and lovely people and warm feelings.
Okay.
And, of course, my wife knows how to put out the red carpet, and she did it nobly. But in terms of celebration, I don't celebrate any specific day. I celebrate every day. And I'm glad to be able to do it.
Well, that might be why you're around for 95 years and other people crap out early.
I'm not sure what the secret is, but I'll take whatever I get and be grateful. And I am indeed grateful.
Well, I was watching 60 Minutes the week before, and they were talking about people who live over the age of 90 and sort of trying to find the secret of, what that is. They interviewed a bunch of people who were in their 90s. And it seemed to me that the only thing that everybody had in common was a good attitude. Honestly, they just seemed like they were having a good time. And
who wants to leave the party when they're having a good time?
Well, I don't object to a good time. I like that. I kind of like that a lot. But I do feel this, that there is a serious component. And the serious component for me is creativity. And if I spend a sleepless night wondering about how I'm going to finish a painting, or how I can complete an idea for a poem. If I can do that, that is time beautifully spent. It contributes to a sleepless night, but it also, in my judgment, contributes to the longevity that I've enjoyed up to this point. And I think that if my brain continues to get the exercise that it must have, I'll probably keep on doing what I'm doing.
Stanley, have you always been a creative person? Have you always been painting and writing and all that?
Well, when I was 80, I retired from the shoe industry, where I spent a lot of time trading my time for dollars. and thought that this was a life. And, of course, indeed, it was only a living. Mm-hmm. My life began after I was 80, around the time that the World Trade Center was struck. And that started the whole stream of books and serious paintings, and it continues now. And that creative period had roots in the Trade Center, mm-hmm. but once it began to flow, there seems to be no end to it. So the juices, the creative juices, are the things that really became the life force. And I couldn't stop it if I wanted to, but this is what I would call living, mm-hmm. as opposed to making a living.
Sure.
And I feel sorry for the people who don't have that creative outlet.
Well, some of us still have to make a living. So,
well,
but you can do it in a creative way. I mean, come on, Derek. We get to have.
Yes, we do. Yes.
We have one of the most creative jobs out there. It's wonderful.
You folks are lucky. I think anybody in the communications business or in the creative arts is lucky, because you're constantly challenged. You're constantly at the cutting edge. And the fact that I didn't know yesterday morning that I would be here tonight is testimony to the fact that you can turn around on a dime and arrange a program. And this is a wonderful program. I really am impressed with the fact that you're seriously looking at the concept of aging, which I renamed growing. And I would urge you to do the same, because aging has such a bad rap.
It does.
It's a shame.
I like to give Derek a bad time about aging. But he's becoming a curmudgeon-y old man.
There's no such thing. I don't believe. I think that if you can allow the juices to flow, the uninteresting people, the dirty old people, the people that rotted in rocking chairs or nursing homes, they can come alive. And I predict that if this longevity of our race continues, we can look forward to a creative renaissance, and we will find that we have creative abilities that have been under the surface or have been discarded. And here I'm making a long speech, and I really didn't want to do that. So ask me some questions, and I'll be happy to.
Stanley Blum, this is your time. So I know
Thank you for that.
You have a book coming out.
I do.
And apparently you wouldn't tell us anything about it before you got here, because you wanted it to be a surprise.
Well, the book is coming out in September. I'm going to have a book signing in Rhinebeck, New York. The title of the book is A Roll in the Hay. Now, this may sound like a sexy novel, which it isn't.
I've got my fingers crossed.
It's
disappointing me, Stanley.
It's not pornography, but I want to tell you something. It occurs to me that this title suggests a way of being. Just visualize now that when you were a kid and you were rolling in leaves or a haystack or whatever, you were at play. And this doesn't exactly suggest that that's what you do, but it does recount through the things that I record my passions about politics, about jazz, about my wife, about my life. And it's done with the spirit of a roll in the hay. And that means, to me, a kind of calm acceptance of what is, a kind of playfulness of what is, deadly serious in other areas, but it doesn't preclude the roll in the hay. Anyway, it's a fun book, and it's a serious book. So it's both. And I invite you to come to Rhinebeck for a book signing, September 12th, and explore that book with me.
Okay. I think that sounds lovely. I think I will.
Serious.
You're not far from me.
Serious invitation. Where are you?
Okay. Well, I'm in Peekskill, which is because we met on the Hudson line, so I'm not far away at all.
I forgot, and I am sorry about that. But I want to tell you, it's a real tribute to my wife, the fact that she was able to engage you, and in a most serious way. And I'm delighted that she made that contact.
Well, to be fair, you were asleep on the train, so
it figures.
It probably wasn't memorable for you because you were asleep. But yes.
That's funny.
Well, I think this is great. So now, is this your first book?
No,
I think it's your third,
this is my fifth book.
Fifth book, okay.
Oh my God, I knew there were more than one.
This is my fourth book. The book that I'm holding in my hand is called Overtime.
Right.
And that suggests an inquiry into the extended period of our lives that we will enjoy, and I am enjoying. And that extended period begs the question, what are we going to do with that time? You can't play that much golf. You can't play that much tennis. You can't do the same things that you did. But the suggestion here is that once you reach that longevity period, maybe the 90s, once you've reached that period, the other demands that were always so imperative gradually disappear. The kids are out of the house, your health is fair, you don't have to worry about a buck, not as much as you did, so that when those things fall away and you dare to look inside and maybe say, now what? Then you've got a chance. Now, hopefully you don't wait until you're 80 to start taking up painting. Hopefully the seeds were planted a long time ago. Hopefully, when you were a kid, you may have said, when I grow up, I want to be a crooner or something like that.
Which was Romaine's dream, yeah.
And then if you're able to connect with that childish dream, which wasn't so damn childish at that, because it represented the core of what that little brain was looking for or wanted. And if a parent has any reason for being, it's to find out what that little spark is in their offspring and nurture that, support it. And even if you can't make a living at it, support it.
Right.
That's a life, and that's in your hands.
It's interesting because my parents were very good at that. They had 8 children, and I think by the time they got to me, they realized exactly what you're saying. When you see that thing that your child has that passion about, no matter what it is, push them in that direction. And it's true. It really does, I think, create a much more happy person. Well,
people are not trained really to understand what goes on in somebody else's mind. Mm-hmm. And parents are ill-equipped, I think, very often, because they're concerned about, will they be able to make a living? Will they be able to survive? Will they find a mate? Will they adjust? Will they stand out? What will they be? So they're so preoccupied that unfortunately puts the creative aspect, the spark, under wraps. And sometimes under wraps means permanently. Mm-hmm. And you can imagine the tragedy of a life at the end of 65 years of somebody discovering, Jesus, I could have been a painter. I could have been a poet. I could have been something.
Right.
Instead of rocking in a chair. So those are regrets that are not really necessary if you're aware early on.
Sure. Stanley Blum is with us, and you can check him out on the web, blumstanley.com, B-L-U-M, Stanley.com. And as he mentioned, he has a new book that will be coming out in September. He'll be doing a reading for it on September 12th in Rhinebeck, New York. And Stanley, apparently you brought a poem for us, too, according to your wife and publicist.
She didn't know she was a publicist.
She is a publicist par excellence.
She really is.
She is my art supporter. She is my inspiration. She is my model. And I say that because it is absolutely true. And I think of this every day. The days have been kind of long. You may know that we've been married for 72 years.
Yes.
So it must be taking.
I think it's going to work out. I've got my fingers crossed.
Derek. I think you're right.
I know it's still early, but I'm going to make a prediction. I think it's working out.
Listen, I got to tell you something. We're all in the communications business.
Right.
And I know you are, and I know I am. And I wrote something that suggested my concept of the art of communication. It was published in the Trends Research Journal this winter, and I read it to you now. Don't tell me what is, tell me what can be. Don't tell me where you were, tell me where you're going. Don't tell me what you think, tell me what you are about to know.
Well, that's marvelous.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of says it pretty quickly and succinctly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Well, I'm fascinated by the tell me what you're about to know. That I think that's very exciting.
If that isn't cutting edge, I don't know what is.
It's very cutting edge, yes.
Because I'm really not interested in recounting what has happened. As a sociologist or as a philosopher, I'm interested in what happened, but I'm really interested in making contact with you, and I want an immediate contact with you, and that means what you're thinking now. Right. And I will reciprocate. And that's why I think that I have always remembered my dinner with Andre. You remember this show?
The movie, yeah.
I thought it was wonderful because you found two guys who were willing to listen to each other, who traded their gut feelings alternately, not on top of one another.
Right.
And it was a beautiful dialogue. I don't remember what they were saying, but I do remember the way that they communicated. And forgive me for looking only at you, Derek, because
it's okay.
I mean, you're not a bad-looking guy, but
Thank you, Stanley.
I don't want to neglect your partner here.
No,
it's all right.
Forgive me.
Oh no, I'm used to it. Trust me.
Maybe it's because this thing is tilted in a certain way. Is that possible?
It might be. It might be. A lot of times the guests feel like they have to play ping pong between Derek and I, back and forth, looking back and forth.
You can get very dizzy that way.
You can. So I'm used to people focusing on Derek.
Okay.
He's the pretty one.
I'm open to any suggestions. Do you think I missed my career as a stand-up comic sitting down?
Not necessarily. Besides, there's still time. You could still do stand-up.
Exactly.
If you wanted to.
You know, as early as last week, I thought to myself, well, what are you going to do next? And I'm still asking those questions. And I think that has everything to do with longevity. Having a goal
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe the goalposts are being pushed back. I'm not sure what it is, but I do know that it is very much related to the concept of growing. And I wrote a poem about that some time ago, and it resonates with me all the time because I've tried to put it into a painting. The poem is, "Lest I think that I am here and nature is there, the falling leaves remind me that I'm one of the leaves." And I think that when we relate our beings, our own beings, to natural law and the natural environment, and we have a beautiful natural environment in Rhinebeck, when you do that, you have a feeling of being at one with the universe, part of it, not an adversary needing to control it. Mm-hmm. And God knows with global warming today, we realize that we have absolutely no control over what's happening to us, except maybe to stop running our smokestacks and our automobiles and letting the carbon into the atmosphere. So I think that once you establish your place in the universe, that you can settle down. And once you've also accepted the fact that your body is going to decline gradually, and that it's a given that you will lose that battle. So that's another thing you don't have to worry about. And connecting to the natural environment may sound a little romantic, but I think it has great validity in terms of who we are on this planet.
Right. Well, and we spend a lot of time disassociating ourselves from nature, our own nature. You know, our food is developed in a way in which we don't see or recognize it as what it was when it was alive. And, you know, we make ourselves up in a way that does not look like us without, you know, all of the things that we put on top of it. So we do spend an enormous amount of our time and energy creating sort of artificial things that do separate us from nature.
Well, I couldn't disagree with that. And I find that it has a calming influence. Once we have stopped worrying about the unknown,
right,
and once we focus, in my judgment and experience, focus on our unconscious, which is where I think that there is all of the wisdom that I could probably handle. So I look inside to the wisdom that may be in my unconscious, under debris, minutia, other people's errands, whatever it is that has inhibited that. But once that energy is freed, then I think we have a chance to make a contribution, be satisfied with who we are, and maybe please some people in the process, especially that lady I'm looking at right now.
I know you're not talking about Romaine. Talking about his wife, June.
She continues to inspire. And she doesn't have to say a damn word. But she is there in support, in admiration, and she's not pissed at me. And that's wonderful.
That's always great. 95-year-old Stanley Blum is with us, and you can check him out on the web, blumstanley.com, BLUM. Let's go to Scott in Colorado. Scott, you're on Derek and Romaine with Stanley Blum.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Stanley, this is, unfortunately, I didn't get to hear you last time you were on. I find you fascinating. And it begs the question, it's not every day you meet someone who especially wasn't directly involved with the LGBT movement, but you actually lived through it from beginning to present. So you got to watch the whole thing unfold. And generally speaking, people from older generations are not nearly as open-minded as folks of today, and I'm curious to hear what your thoughts were as you watched that unfold and what advice you could offer for people, just younger people perhaps, just starting through it.
That's a big question. And I'm rarely asked for advice, especially from young people. And in order for me to find an audience, I have to write or paint. But I do have a thought for you, and it really doesn't apply just to you. It applies to almost anybody. And I'm going to read a poem to you that I wrote. I wrote it for me, but it applies to many others, I think.
All right.
Give me a moment.
Okay. Stanley Blum is going to go through his book and find the poem that he's going to read for you. And you can check out his books and his art and more on his website, blumstanley.com.
I found the poem on page 65 of Overtime, and the title of it is This Is My Parade. And it reads, I love a parade. The captivating beat of the music, driving the marchers, striding tall and proud, declaring their special uniqueness. Ireland, Greece, Italy, or Spain, they come from all over, and they take me everywhere with bagpipe or horn. A willing captive in Sousa's stance of an intoxicating moment, I march with them. I love other parades, too, even without the music and the brilliant costumes. These parades, these paraders, aren't neat. They are pissed and in disarray, carrying signs of protest, anger, and frustration. From Tahrir Square to Wall Street, they know what isn't fair. I march with them. We are all paraders at one time or another, in somebody else's parade, a company or church, team or town, school or state, often without thinking, but comfortable in a group. I have marched with them. At last it's my parade. Now I'm the leader who chooses the music and the lyrics, the players and the people, the line of march and the volume. Maestro, if you please, any Jelly Roll tune will do. This is my parade.
Oh, that's marvelous.
Mm-hmm.
There's a painting that I kind of like on page 69. It's called Jelly Roll, and it's a very exciting painting, even if I say so myself.
Yes, it is.
It's a marvelous program. I must tell you that in revealing my guts, it's a joy to have a responsive audience. And the man who raised the question, I hope that suggests that you've got to be in your parade. You've got to lead your parade wherever it takes you. You've got to stand tall and proud, whatever your celebration is. And good luck to you.
Well, Stanley, we celebrate you. I appreciate you being with us. It's been wonderful having you again.
I thank you.
And really marvelous. And you should definitely check out Stanley and his work on the web. blumstanley.com, blumstanley.com. His books are there, and his fifth book will be coming out in September, and he'll be doing a reading in Rhinebeck, New York on September 12th. All the information will be on his website.